So greetings students, so welcome to your second lab. In this part of the lab video, I'll be talking about functions, ranges, and operator precedences. So initially these topics may seem unfamiliar to you guys, but I hope after a brief discussion in the video, you guys will have a better understanding of these concepts. So before defining what is a range, I'd like to talk about rows and columns in Excel. In Excel, the data or the values are organized in different rows and columns. And here we can see, if I want to talk about the rows and columns, here we have multiple columns which are placed horizontally at the top bar. So you can see these columns are represented using different alphabets A, B, C, D, and so on. And if you look at this vertical panel, you can see the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all those numeric values, they will indicate the row numbers in an Excel sheet. So if we want to find out a particular value B2, so we need to go to row 2 and we have to go to column B. So let's go to column B. Here we can go to column B, and after that we need to move to row 2. So we move to row 2. So this specific cell indicates B2, and if we want to find out another value C4, we have to go to column C, and then we have to go down to row 4. So here we can find out the value C4. So let's say we want to select all the values from B2 to C4. In that case, the range comes into play. So what does a range do? A range is basically a collection of multiple cells. It can have 2 or more cells in it. So if I want to select from B2 to C4, I'll hover my mouse and B2, and I'll select the values B2 and up to C4. I have included each and every values in it. Okay, so if I give you another example, like if I want to select random values in the Excel sheet to make up a range, let's say I want to select these values, I'll click Control and I'll select this cell, I select this one and another random cell. Now all the cells B2, D3 and G4, they're included in the new range. Okay, this is how we select ranges. Now let's talk about how to fill in a range. Usually the ranges, they include the similar types of values. So let's give you an example. Let's say we want to have a range starting from cell B2 and up to cell B8. Okay, so we want to put the numeric value 2 in each and every cells within that range. So in order to do that, what we have to do, we have to go through the specific cell from which we want to start the range. So we put down the value 2 here. So now we hovered the mouse to the rightmost corner of the cell, and you can see a plus icon at the rightmost corner. So now press it at the corner and drag it up to the cell you want. So in that case we want up to the cell B8. So we do that, and all the values, they're copied to the corresponding cells. So this is one way of filling in the ranges. So as I told you earlier, the ranges, they usually follow a pattern. Let's say I want to create a range where I'll store the values 2, 4 and so on. So from this part, what you see here, from this part we can see that the first value is 2, then the next value is 4. That means it is incremented by 2, we get 4. So what would be the next value? It would be 4 plus 2, that would be 6, and so on. So we know in that case we're going to create a range that would include the values 2, then it is incremented by 2 to 4, and then it is incremented by 2 again to 6, and so on. So in order to incorporate this pattern in the range, what we need to do, at first we go and we select the values. We select the values 2 and 4. So after selecting the values, what we do, like the previous time, we drag it up to the cell B8. So you can see it copies the pattern of the first 2 cells and incorporate the very same pattern on the next corresponding cells. So This is how we can fill in the ranges. So after that, we can do other operations with range, like we can move a range to another position. Let's say here we have the range starting from B2 to B8, and we want to move it to this part from D2 to D8. So in order to do that, what we do, we click at any of the border of the range. So this, the green part, the green colored line, they indicate the border of the range. Just press on anywhere in the green colored line. I press here and I can drag it to this cell, and I can also drag it to this one. So in this case, we wanted to drag it from B2 to B8 to D2 to D8. So this is how we can move a range. So, and we can perform other operations like copying pasting ranges. In order to copy paste range, let's select the whole range and let's say copy, and you can press Ctrl C, whatever you want, and we want to copy it to this one on column F. So we click here, we give it the right click, and after right click you'll see many paste options present here. So select the first one, just simply copy and paste it. Here the first one indicates paste, so just click this. So this is how we can copy paste ranges. So this would be convenient for further operations in ranges. So now I want to talk about functions and formulas. Functions and formulas are very important tools in Excel to incorporate some user-defined calculations for particular cells. So what are the purpose of using formulas? A formula is an expression which calculates the value of a particular cell. So let's say we want to calculate the value of the particular cell A3. So in order to calculate the value of this cell, we want to sum up the value of the cell A1 and A2. After addition of the values, I want to store the calculated value in the corresponding cell A3. So here we have to write a formula which basically adds up the values and store the results in it. Okay, so in order to do that, first I'll have to select the particular cell that I want to. Okay, I want to incorporate the formula in cell A3. So first I give an equal sign. Here the equal sign indicates that after calculation the value will be assigned to this particular cell. Okay, so that the Excel knows that I'm going to type a formula here. So I'm going to add the values of the cell A1 and the value of the cell A2. So after addition of both of the values, the result will be stored here. So let's change the values of A1. Let's say 2, and here I include 3 as the value of A2. So what Excel does, it calculates the value of the cell A3 by performing addition on the upper cells. So this is how we can implement a formula in Microsoft Excel. So after implementing the formula for the cell A3, we can change the values of cell A1 or cell A2. Let's change the value of cell A1 to 3. So with the change in the value of cell A1, Excel will recalculate the value for the corresponding cell A3. So that means with each and every changes, this calculation will be performed and the corresponding value will be stored in the desired cell. Okay, so once we declare a formula, we can always edit the formulas. So what we were performing here, we were performing an addition operation. So instead of performing addition operation, what we can do a subtraction. Let's say I want to edit the formula, so let's go to the formula and change it to subtraction, and I press enter. So I have already edited the formula. Now it is subtracting the value of cell A2 from the value of cell A1. So you can see, in order to change a formula, what we need to do, we have to go to the formula bar and we just have to change it. Let's say I want to perform a multiplication, so let's change it by an asterisk sign, multiplication. So now what it does, it performs a multiplication. Okay, so there are some other concepts that you need to understand the formulas better. So these are called the precedence of the operations. Okay, when I say precedence of the operators, I mean the sequence in which Excel performs the calculations. So Excel usually follows the order in which the operations occur. So this is like the typical mathematical order which we call PEMDAS. So that means in an Excel calculation, first it will perform the calculation in the parentheses. And E stands for exponents, we don't have to worry about it right now. So then Excel will perform multiplication and division. So once this is complete, then Excel will add or subtract the values. So we need to keep this order in mind before writing our formulas, or else we'll not get the desired result from the formulas. So let's give you an example. Here what I want to do, I want to write a formula. It would add the value of the cells A2 and A3, and it will multiply the added value with cell A1. So in order to do that, we need to write a formula. So let's go to the formula tab. So what we're doing here at first, we're adding the values of cell A2 and cell A3, and after addition I'm going to multiply the sum with the value of the first cell A1. So this is what I want to do here. So once I write the formula, so what operation is being performed here? So according to the formula, what is being performed here, at first A2 is being added to A3, and then the sum is being multiplied to A1. So that means 2 plus 1, we get 3 here. It is being multiplied to 2, so we'll get a resulting value of 6, which is stored here. So what would have happened if you did not include this particular parentheses here? So let's get rid of the parentheses. So what would Excel do? Excel will first perform the multiplication here. So as we know from PEMDAS, since there is no parentheses, so it will perform the multiplication or division first. So 2 gets multiplied to 2, the result becomes 4, and then it will perform the addition or subtraction operation. So 4 gets added to 1 and the result is 5. So let's see that in example. So we do not get the desired result, so we have to keep that in mind. We have to use parentheses when we want to make sure that the operation gets performed first. Okay, so let's do that here. Let's get rid of the parentheses here. So we get 5, so we get the wrong result. So in order to make sure that we get the desired result, what we need to do, we need to put on a parentheses to emphasize that this part of the parentheses will be calculated first, and after calculating this sum, this would be multiplied with the value in the first cell A1. So we will get the correct result 6 here. So far we've seen how to write the formulas. So like the values, we can also copy paste the formulas. Let's say we want to perform the same operation for cell B1, B2 and B3. So what we need to do, we right click on this cell which have the formula, and we copy this one, and here we go, we right click and we paste it. So it performs the same calculations for the cell B1, B2 and B3. So what it does, it adds the value of cell B2 and B3, which adds up to 10, and then it multiplies the value to the cell B1. So the result is 50, which is stored here. So we could have performed the same operation using the drag function. So what we should have done, we should have clicked on the right corner of the cell and we drag it up to cell B2. So the same operation will be copied here. So if we go here, we can see the very same formula in the formula bar. So now let's move on to the next part. Now we've talked about functions. So what are the functions? The functions are the predefined formulas which are already available in the Excel for our use. Okay, so let's say we want to write a function here. Let's clear all the values. Let's insert some new values here. Insert the values 3, 8, 6 and followed by 10, 5 and 4. Now let's say we want to write a formula for this cell D1. So what would this formula perform? This formula will go through each and every cells from A1 to C2 and it will check how many cells have values greater than 5. So let's see here, we have cell B1 which has a value greater than 5, cell C1 has a value greater than 5, then cell A1 has a value greater than 5. So we have in total 3 cells which have values greater than 5. So D would calculate 3. So in order to do that, we do not have to write the functions or the formulas by ourselves. So here we have available functions for performing this type of calculation. So let's go through the functions here. So first we select the cell where we want to incorporate the function, and here we have an insert function operation or a feature which would help us to incorporate a function here. So let's click on insert function. After clicking, we have to search for the specific function that we want to implement. Here we want to implement the function COUNTIF. Okay, let's click on the function. OK, they're telling me to include this cell, the ranges. Okay, in our case the range starts from cell A1 and it goes up to cell C2. Okay, so we write A1 and followed by a colon and then the C2. Okay, so instead of manually typing the range, we could have selected the range in this way. Let's click on the starting value and drag it up to the ending value. So I have selected the range and the criteria. It would count if the value is greater than 5. So I insert the criteria greater than 5. I click OK. So that means this cell calculates the values, the numeric values which are greater than 5. Here we have 3 cells which have values greater than 5. Okay, so instead of using the insert formula function, we could have written this formula by ourselves. We could have typed it manually. Okay, so let's do this manually. So first of all, let's give in this equal sign. This would indicate the Excel that we're going to type a formula. The name of the formula is COUNTIF. So what this formula does, so here they have shown us what it takes. It first takes the range and then it takes the criteria. So the things that we put inside the parentheses, they're called the arguments. So first we have to insert the range. So instead of typing the ranges, let's select the range from A1 to C2. Then it shows us that we need to type a semicolon. So I type a semicolon and followed by the criteria. We need to put the criteria inside a quotation mark. So the criteria is we need to calculate the values which are greater than 5. Okay, so I press enter. So it counts the number of values which are greater than 5. So you see that the functions, the insert function operations helps us in many ways, because we do not need to memorize the name of the functions and also the arguments that we need to pass inside the function. So instead of writing the formulas manually, we can always use the insert function method. Okay, so thank you for watching.